to Full Throttle Sim Racing, broadcasted by us, the Nerditudes. Coming at you live at virtual Talladega Super Speedway, 2.66 mile track, the biggest on the NASCAR circuit as far as the oval side goes. And we're looking to see who wants to be the Chase Elliott wannabe, trying to take home the checkered flag tonight. Track temp right now, blistering 99 degrees. Seen a little car or some cars getting pretty loose here in this practice run. A lot of guys trying to practice their pit stops with the green flag scenarios, and I'm seeing a lot of side by side, a lot of movement in these cars. So I guess something to keep your eye out on that for you tonight there. Air temp 74 degrees, so you know that track temp's going to drop down a little bit. Doesn't matter so much at the Super Speedway though, but with the next gen cars, there's been a lot of scrutiny this past month, especially from some of these drivers in the virtual world and in the real world. But I am on your left-hand side of your screen here, and to my right, Mr. Pashibian Nick. How's it going over there tonight, man?
Yeah, going pretty good. Here in Germany, rather see the Super Speedway take place and see who comes out victorious. So there's a spot in the playoffs here that someone can go up and take, so it'll be a fun one to watch.
Paul Bergoli's first challenge here. He's been killing it as far as the mile and a half, short tracks, whatever you throw at him. But this is the first time we're going to see Paul Bergoli on a Super Speedway. He's got 11-point advantage over Nicholas Moreau, 29 points in third place, 29 points out is Sherwood Williford. So third through about 10th is really bundled up, but Paul and Nicholas has kind of spread themselves out here halfway through the season.
They're trying to take that C championship, and you got ones like, like Brody mentioned in his interview last week. He's just focused on the playoffs, not worried about the season C championship, trying to keep that thing to the end. So I think he's sitting 15 points back in that from Richard Coy's teammate. So we got a tight battle for first place as well for the overall playoff championship.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And because he can't win C almost at this point. He's already missed a race, and these guys are running so good. Unless somehow Richie can win this race and troubles happen for Paul and Nick, there might be a chance. But right now, those two guys, the 8 and the 15, they're just doing such impressive work, especially Paul. I know he's raced this sim prior. We all know that. But for being a rookie and coming in here and just showing the performance that he does each and every night, he does show up. It's pretty awesome to see that.
Yeah, he's definitely put on a heck of a season right now. Kind of looking at these charts here, we got Ryan who creeped into the 49.5s. I know it's Talladega and it's just grab draft and go, but he's the only one there, so he had himself a blistering lap there in practice. I don't know if anyone will be able to beat that before this thing goes checkered here in about 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes left, and even though it might not make sense for some drivers to go, you know what, I got the fastest lap time, to me it tells me I got some good single car speed. iCar can draft somebody better than anybody else, and that's why he's able to get to that top spot. If you're sitting in the top 10, really, that's more of a comfort level. If you practice in front of the pack and you got 10th, 8th place even, you might go, I might be a good car to be pushed, and vice versa. If you're sitting there 3-4 cars back, your line's moving, you got a top 5 on the charts, you might go, hey, I might want to stick out and find a partner to push all around this track and make it to the end.
Yeah, and you mentioned partners, and Brody and Richie, they're definitely going to hook up with their teammate Tony Solari. They have a great pit strategy. You always see them working together, coming down together. They're pretty hard to beat on these super speedways. We had a challenge for them one time as well, and they ended up getting the best of us. So those are the ones to watch for. But everyone right now, we got good teamwork going on with multiple different teams through the league right now. So we're going to definitely see a lot of teamwork throughout this race. And some of those newcomers that might not be on a team, they're gonna find something to go with.
And with the new charter system too, you might be eyeballing somebody who's by themselves doing it all solo. You might go, might not want to offer them a little contract, give them a little side cash to drive for my team. And so this is one of those tracks to where you want to be respectful, and if you want to join someone else's team through the iRacer hub, you want to drive respectful, and this is the place to do it. So 31 guys tonight, Kenny. This is, I think, every race this season for 2022 C, we've seen 30 plus. I think 3 weeks in a row, it's been 31 drivers.
Yeah, right on the money again, just like we saw last week. So be a good pack here that we have out and about. I've seen some good racing this week on some of the races I've done. A lot of green flag runs and, caution here or there, but it doesn't come till the last lap or so. So I don't expect anything less with these guys over here at Full Throttle. We know how they are with the cautions. Rarely see them, so I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe just have one or two here tonight.
Yeah, we'll find out. They've surprised us here prior, and won't expect anything different here at Full Throttle Sim Racing. But qualifying is over, or practice is over. That means it is the end of the Martin Sports pre-race show. It's time for us to go over a couple sponsors for you guys that allow us to do this for you every Monday night, and then kind of go over the qualifying times and see what things are looking like out there in the field. First and foremost, thank you FTSR.net for letting us do this for you every Monday night. Is the Premier League, the host Cup and Truck Series, and also have a throwback series that's Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you guys aren't registered by now that are currently watching, please sign up at FTSR.net. You're going to use the iRacer Hub to register your team, and then you can purchase the cars. It's only $5 a charter, and then you can customize the contract for whatever driver you register onto your team. It's kind of a cool, unique software. And you're going to find that, like I said, at FTSR.net. Shout out to Mach-1 Performance, the official Cup Series sponsor, every Monday night. And if your race car needs some fabrication work done and they are in the area, head over to facebook.com/Mach-1 Performance. These guys have produced champions on a lot of oval, pavement, and dirt racing, with multiple classes and series from the NCC or SCCA and NASA. So once again, facebook.com/Mach-1 Performance. And I think we're going to stick with Ryan Hedrick here. Fastest on the charts. That means he's got a really strong car. I'm kind of curious to see where these single times come from and what they look like right now. Mr. Hedrick is on his first lap, coming on the backstretch, entering turn number 3. You're on board with him on his roof cam. Well, let's see what kind of time he can put up right now. He's off in exiting turn number 4. Making his way down to the front stretch part here. Gonna go all the way through the tri-oval section to hit the start-finish line. And we'll see what kind of time he posts this time around. Looks like he might be on lap number 2. Looks like 53.4 currently. It's gonna put him 5th out of 5 cars right now so far. So this will be his fast lap here.
Yeah, and kind of what I experienced throughout this week racing is that first lap's the lap that you're going for. Even on that second lap, you're not going to get the faster speed, or at least for me, it was that way. That was my first lap was going to be the better one. A little bit different strategy for myself at Talladega than Daytona, but I noticed a couple I did the second lap, it just wasn't as fast as that first one.
Yeah, I was kind of confused because I usually run, the second, third groove up against the wall, at least not completely against the wall. So when I saw the 47 running the bottom his first lap, that's why I was like, maybe this is his second lap. I'm not sure, but this is indeed a second lap. I haven't found personally that much luck running the bottom lane the first lap. Right now, Ryan Hedrick's going to sit 12th there at a 53.4. So yeah, the first lap was faster for him in that particular case. Not where he practiced though.
Paul Milliken, he put on a blistering lap there with a 53.25. Only one in the twos right now, so he might be locking this thing up. We got a couple people still on the track trying to make a lap, but Kyle might have this thing on wrap.
Yeah, so far that 53.2 looks like it's the only one in the 0.2 so far. As we have a couple drivers that made practice time that has not qualified yet, but we got Lane Allen, the 14. He's coming off of turn number 4 now. I'm going to assume this is for the coming to the white flag because I don't see any times registered so far. And I think he's the only one kid that's left on the track right now trying to turn down a lap time. See what the 14 has in store here. He's going to move up to, looks like 18th place with a 53.403.
Stephen Will Allen just came across the line as well. 53.74, putting him in 25th. We've seen him last season, Jeremy, or it could have been the end of season 1 here at Talladega, and he put on a show there too. He's not afraid to make some moves. He'll go high, he'll go low, he'll push it 3 wide if he has to. So he's going to be a fun one to watch coming up through the field if he's starting in the back.
Yeah, I would imagine that some of these guys have an agenda of going to the front, and that's one of the guys I would look out for to see what kind of moves he's going to make as you're now looking at the 24 here. Stephen Lou Allen still on the track, but I don't know if he's going to make the timer. The timer's got 5 seconds left in this session. He's in the tri-oval. It's going to come down to the wire here in 0 hits before he gets to the line. I don't think it did count his lap at a 3:52, puts him P11. Not enough to take the pole.
Nope, but he ran high side all the way around on his first lap and then did the well on his second. That bumped him up, but yeah, still not as fast as Kyle there.
Yep, and that's going to be into qualifying, and so we're going to go over the official running order presented by Mach-1 Performance here. Kyle Milliken's going to take home first place on the grid. Second place is going to be your points leader, Paul Bergoli. Third place, Stan Carnathan. Fourth place, Brody Hanna. Fifth place, Brandon Elder. Sixth place, Matthew Vachon. Seventh, Ryan Murray. Eighth place, Jonathan Vachon. Ninth place, Nicholas Moreau. And round out tonight's top 10, Josh Mayu.
And rolling off in 11th, who we were just speaking of, Stephen Wu Allen. 12th is going to be Jonathan Varnosticus. 13th is going to be Alex Murphy. Rolling off in 14th, you got Brian Bliss. 15th is going to be Martin Garreau. 16th is Steve Loomis. Rolling off in 17th is going to be David Courier. 18th, your points leader here in the playoffs, is Richard Coy. 19th is going to be Lane Allen. And right behind his teammate there is Tony Solari in 20th.
21st, you're going to find that 47 of Ryan Hendrick. To his outside in 22nd, Brian Dublé. 23rd, James Wallace. And to his outside in 24th is Chris Curtis. Row 13, Joshua Johnson in 25th. And in 26th place is Sherwood Williford. 27th and on back did not qualify. They're just going to be randomly lined up. Simon Magden, 27th. Ryan Chapman, 28th. Chris Beck, 29th. 30th, Chad Lang. 31st, Justin Diltz. And Alan Crowell, once again, starts dead last. They're in 30 seconds. Actually, 32. One last entry there. Ken, this is the biggest field this season.
Biggest place to have the biggest field, right?
I guess if there's one track, this is going to be it. I think Brandon Elder is your in that 51 machine, the mellow yellow. I think he likes the super speedways and shows up for him. I think that's going to be your 32nd entry there. And he came through 5th place, so nice job there for the 51.
Yeah, I'm really digging Kyle's color choices here. That orange really pops there on that black. It's a nice little scheme he's got going on there.
Excellent choice, and they got some chrome in there too. I think the silver has some chrome spec mapping into his outside. Paul Bergoli, he eats up all the chrome on his skin. So a lot of the cars really I hear sporting really awesome schemes. Even the 23 Brody Hanna, I've always, and he's got that diamond plate texture there behind the 23, and I've always appreciated people when they use that texture because you don't see it too often.
Yeah, I got to change it up a little bit. And that's definitely something different, so it's nice to see things like that. And yeah, nice schemes out here tonight. Definitely kind of feels like that Halloween type vibe that Talladega used to put out when the race is a little bit later in the year, but with some of these orange and black schemes through the field. But definitely some nice ones out there tonight.
Yeah, I always enjoyed it when it was close to Halloween, you know. It's kind of throwing me off here. It's almost an entire month before Halloween, so I don't blame them if they want to keep the Halloween vibe going. I would, even all month long. Every time the group of people run a Halloween scheme, never seems to disappoint. Quick shout out to the chats as well. If you head over to YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, we'd love to give you a shout out. So we got Robert Curtis coming back saying, "Go Chris C." And then you always know Surfer Punkette at this time, rooting for Paul Bergoli, saying, "Let's go Bergoli, Dega baby." That's what we're here to watch.
As you saw there on NERDtv, the 24, Stephen Rowan, got on the apron there. He has to get an EOL from a penalty from last week, so we're going to see him start in the back. And Jeremy, he's going to be one that we're going to watch. I mentioned it earlier in the pre-race that he likes going through the field on these tracks, so keep an eye on him.
For sure, and if you wondered if he had a penalty last week, why did he qualify? You want to get P1 to get the optimal pit spot. So starting 11th, he didn't get that pit box that he had wanted, and so that's why he's going to the back, and he starts pretty decent as far as the pit selection goes. But we're going to green flag here. Kyle Milliken going to take the green flag with Paul just lagging back maybe a half a car length or so, and gets actually a pretty decent jump there. Clears the 82 during turn number 1. Brody Hanna's going to follow suit 2x2, and then a couple cars single file after that.
Yeah, a big gap on the high side there after behind Brody Hanna. That's going to get a big run from right behind him on this top side. You see, actually, that top side's broken up, Jeremy, as they're coming off of 2. Not really as tight together as the bottom line is.
Yeah, it's 5 versus 4 right now, or 6 versus 4 rather. And it's 3 wide, actually. The 18 caught my attention just at the last second there. 18, the 12, and the 03. Those guys get it sorted out now, 2x2x2. But yeah, that inside's about 2-to-1 advantage right now.
Yeah, we know the 18 there, Brian Bliss. He's former Talladega winner himself in the Truck Series a couple seasons back. So we know he can do it here on the Super Speedways as well. You see Richie Coy, Tony Sawyer right behind them. I expect them to start making their way to the front, trying to find their teammate Brody Hanna in that outside lane. Not too far ahead of them in the outside lane, but that inside, Jeremy, is pulling on them. This is about 5, 6, 7 car lengths away from that outside right now.
Yeah, it's got twice the steam right now. The only thing they could do maybe slightly different is to use that side draft, but it's too early to, kind of push the issue, especially with the Cup cars, knowing they have that thing called net code that shows its face quite often. Don't want to experience a wreck, 94 laps into this thing, or laps total in this race, and we're only lap number 2. No need to do that. So kind of you're seeing that spacing between the guys from the low and the mid line right now, about a whole car length or so separates them. Just kind of taking it easy, but yeah, that outside definitely needs some help to kind of get that line moving a little bit faster.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is, you started on the outside pole. Paul is sitting right behind Nicholas, your 2 top finishers last week, and they're bunched up. But the problem is they're just not getting that run, and it's killing them. So they're just trying to get as much, but they don't want to push it and be too crazy at the start of the race. So they're just kind of laying back. But eventually they'll get up there. As you see a good run here on this outside as that inside checks up a little bit. So here they come, actually heading into turn 3.
Yeah, 15th, a great launch, great head of steam off of turn number 2, and about halfway down the backstretch, he kind of hit a wall, it looked like, but now he's resuming back to the outside of the 51, Brandon Elder. Nicholas Moreau's going to come off of turn number 4 here and gets a little run that time, not as strong as he did in turn number 2, but that's kind of expected. Turn 2, you usually get that higher or greater launch just because of the banking transition drops you a little bit further. But 15, the 8, the 23, they're making the advantages. Now he's to the back, or the side panel there, the 82.
Yeah, great run as they're coming on. And these guys are keeping it tight. They're side by side, 2 wide. We saw a little bit of 3 wide action at the start, but everyone's kind of falling in place right now, and they're just picking their line, seeing which one's going to be the best for them. Some people prefer the outside. Some people prefer the inside. Me, on myself, I'd rather be on the high side the whole entire race. It's just find more excitement up there myself, but everyone's got their different thing, and they're trying to find where they want to be right now.
Outside is definitely the more exciting lane. I will have to agree with you there. But where I disagree is I would prefer the bottom, especially in a longer race. Yeah, you control your fate more so on the bottom. I know you can't control the guy behind you, but at least no one can wash up into you, at least not as easily as if you're on the top and someone just says, hey, I'm getting loose, and they just turn right. You get door checked. So I always find a little bit more safety running that bottom lane, and I don't blame a lot of these guys for running the bottom lane per se early on in this event. But the 15, the 8, 23, 26, and all the guys in the top lane right now, even though there's less cars, they're keeping up there within that 3rd or 4th place. So job well done so far.
Yeah, and another thing too on who you're kind of working with, you'll see the strategies that play out when they get a good run on the outside. As soon as they get clear, if they're going to duck down that inside or if they're going to hang out on the outside. And you'll remember that if you're pushing someone up to the front and they duck down to the inside, you're like, okay, I see where this will play. Or you can kind of practice yourself, because that's a good run towards the end as well. So it's just kind of going to be in the memory every part of this race that everything happens, and that's just something these drivers won't forget as this race comes to an end when they're trying to make moves.
You see that 8 and the 15. Those guys are not teammates, but you see the 8 walked onto the back of the 15, and that's what you briefed on there in the pre-race show, is finding your partners and doing it early. Are you going to be the guy who makes that move to the inside and leave someone out to dry early, or are you going to stick with them? And right now the 8 and the 15 finding some great speed. They cleared Brody Hanna, 3rd car in line, almost by a whole car length. Just by them 2 with that little tango, they both shift to the bottom, and that's going to leave Brody, leader in the top lane.
It's a great tango by those guys. They hooked up and just Paul pushed Nicholas there down the whole entire backstretch and gave him such a run. And Brody was trying to tag along with it, and he was getting pulled along, but just wasn't enough, and yeah, he fell back a little bit. But what a great run to put those two in there. And once they both got clear, you saw the 8 come on down, and the 15's like, yep, we're going down too. So perfect execution on that pass right there.
It was a job well done there by Paul. And the 15 and 8, those guys are battling for the 2022 C championship. So I don't know if that's going to be the person to stick with. It might be like a fast option for you, but overall, I don't know if I'm going to partner with the guy I'm trying to beat in the points. So, but I guess it's early on. We'll find out exactly what they have in store. But Paul, he doesn't have a teammate out there. He's all by himself. So he needs to find, I would say, at least 1 to 2 other people to work with, just in case the 15 splits them down the road here.
One thing is speed recognizes speed, and Nicholas knows that Paul has some speed. He's seen it all season, and he's still proving it right here. I know you mentioned it briefly in the pre-race show about Paul being on the restrictor plate. We get to see him for the first time, but still up front here. So I think there'll be something that'll be working together all the way till lap 94. Then we might see a little difference there, but when you find speed, you're going to work with speed.
That's a great reference to use in that scenario right there. Speed recognizes speed. You're not wrong. You definitely want to follow the guy that's faster, not slower. And these two guys are typically the fastest in practice and qualifying, and even during the race, at least this season entirely. So great call there. That is good. But if you're 1 and 2 right now, how do you find a partner when you're in front of everybody?
Yeah, and we haven't seen, anyone really hook up other than Tony Solari. I see Richie Coy. Tony Solari is still hooked up there on the outside lane. Trying to see if there's any other partners that kind of have hooked up together and different strategies that are playing out. But it looks like everyone's kind of spread out. We see the James Wallace there with Brian Dubois, Joshua Johnson, and I believe that's Ryan Hedrick in front of him. We know all those are teammates, so they're going to definitely work together. We've seen that in the past of these restrictor plates with them. Not surprised to see these 4 together kind of hanging out in the back, and then we'll see them push together and make their way to the front. But we've seen this story play out before with these guys.
Yeah, no kidding. And it's 37, 47, 57, 67. All right there in the back of the pack on the inside line. Those guys are going to work together. Kind of surprised to see Richie and Tony right to their outsides. They're not getting to Brody. I don't know if they're just got their own strategy versus their teammate. You see right there on the 11, onto the top side of James Wallace in the 67. They're lagging back a little bit further than their teammates. So right now, at least how qualifying sorted them out, they're running 2 different strategies as one team.
And I think it's also hard to pass right now. What we see out of these guys, you got to get a momentum on the outside. We see Alex Murphy running that high side right now, and he's sitting back quite a few lanes back of the leaders here. That high side just can't seem to get the momentum going that it needs to get up there. That's also going to play a factor here as far as passing. And I think too, with Richie and Tony riding together, Richie's mentioned that playoff leader right now by 15 points over his teammate Brody Hanna, so he might be taking it a little easy as well on the start.
Yeah, to back up that idea too, the 24 Lou Allen, you mentioned it. You said he was going to be one of the guys that just shoots forward and try to gain as many spots as he can. He's only gained, I think, 2 or 3 spots since the green flag. Stephen Lou Allen currently 28th and dropped back to 32nd. So it's 4 spots gained for the guy in 11 laps that we thought he was going to shoot through the field, but the pack's kind of split behind them. They're all single filed out right there in Steven's pack. But right now we're on board the back bumper here of the 31, Alex Murphy. He's running a pretty good race right now, just creeping in the top 5 here on the top side.
That was a great jump up there by Kyle Milliken, getting a great push on the outside. See if he ducks down to the inside, if he's going to keep that run as they're coming around the start. He's still going to keep on that outside. Pull the 31 of Alex Murphy along here. Brody Hanna right behind them as well, so they're going to keep that momentum all the way in the 1 and 2.
Outside has found the steam. They got the same amount of cars, it looks like, as they do on the bottom. So with the equal amount of power, it looks like that outside might be the preferred lane. You're seeing it right here, the 31, second place. Alex Murphy tries and almost clears the 15 until the 8 of Paul Bergoli just gave an amazing shot to the back bumper of the 15. That's going to send Nicholas Moreau all the way to the lead. Paul Bergoli is going to clear the 42 for second.
Yeah, great push again by the 8 there. Just hooked up to the back bumper and pushed them the whole way again. And you see him propel whether on the inside or the outside. They definitely got that speed when they link up together. And Another thing to mention too, Jeremy, with this drafting is whoever's on the outside, some of these drivers either one just don't want to do it or it's too early. But as far as side drafting, you'll have some that'll lean on that door and try to move up through the field, and then others will kind of just hang out. So you'll see different runs based off of how their driving style is as well.
You really will, and right now I haven't seen any car handling issues like I was seeing in practice, so that definitely plays a part in the strategy a little bit. But that outside line, after Paul got that, or gave the shot to the 15, the outside's kind of broken up until about right now, where there's now 6 cars nose to tail. That inside lane's got about 8 to 10 cars all in that draft wake there, so and unless that 42 comes down to the door panel of the 50 and these guys up here in the front, it's going to be a little bit of a stalemate issue. They're trying to get that top side moving again.
Yeah, you can see him just ever so slightly moving forward, and it's a little bit of having that inside lane check up a little bit because you have more drivers down there, and you don't want to push the pusher and things like that. So you'll see him kind of check up and pull like that. Brandon Elder kind of pull out a little bit, probably cooling down the engine a little bit as well, and that's going to try and bring that pack. But as we see right behind these guys, Jeremy, though, you got Fury Motorsports. They've caught up to Brody Hanna, even though there's only 5 on the outside. You see those 3 tagged up together.
Brody finally dropped back, picked up the 19 and 11. The 11, 19 especially benefiting from this, as now they are moved up quite a few spots. Right just on the cusp of being inside the top 10 here. But I'm sure they're hoping for someone behind them, like the 27, 17, 47, whoever, to kind of move up to the top to give them assistance. But right now there's only 5 guys versus the rest of the field. You're seeing it off the back roof camera shot here of Tony Solari. Just nobody behind him. And if you go to the front side, minus the 5 guys up here, there's nobody in front. So they need some assistance. But when Fury Motorsports, when they hook up all together, expect them to move to the front.
Yeah, they haven't lost any ground on that high side. They're still about 5 or 6 cars back, but they're just not gaining anything. And I mean, it's going to be hard to gain when you got Paul here pushing Nicholas the way he does down the backstretch. He just gives him great push probably every other lap here, and that's just propelling him out there to stay further. But that outside, it'll gain just a touch and it'll lose just a touch, but it's not like drastically going one way or the other right now with just that 5 on the outside.
No, you're correct there, and you see a little space there even between the 19 and 11. Outside lane's not really doing as well as it could, and allows the 42 to drop back just enough to where he can move down to the inside just temporarily, but Martin Garreau closes the door pretty quickly. But when you see the 11 and 19, when they get back to the 23's back bumper, like within just the fender amount of space, you see that line start to creep back up. But still, a lot of guys playing it safe here on the bottom. And a little bit of an issue, actually, as soon as I said that, the 50 and the 32 make slight contact entering turn number 3. It got those cars a little upset, but luckily no one crashed out of that. Still single file here for the most part coming up to lap 17.
Yeah, just a little squirrely there as they're heading into the turns 3 and 4 there, but everyone keeps it straight and keeps it going, which is nice to see. Don't want one caution, especially this early, kind of midway in the pack as well. That wouldn't be good for some of these other guys out there. But that inside, Jeremy, is just, we see a little bit of movement there. I think they're just kind of shifting. I was about to say we might see some cars here jump up to the outside, but once you get a certain car up there, you have one car that's going to be a pusher, and you got one that likes to be pushed. That's going to be the leader, and sometimes you just figure out, okay, my car's really good at pushing today, or my car's better out front. And once you get that kind of matched up together, I think we see it right here with 8 and the 15. Right now, this combination that they're doing is working really well. They might flip it later, but what we're seeing right now is working well, and they're going to stick with that. It's not failing them, so they're going to probably stick to this way the whole way. I know, like when Trevor Brain won 10 years ago or whenever it was, 11 years ago, that was one of the cars that everyone's like, that's a fast car. So which ones are going to be the pushers and which one wants to get pushed, kind of based off what you see in practice and on the race.
Yeah, no kidding there. Oh, a little bit of door contact from the 03 and the 42 as they exit turn number 2. Not sure what that was all about. Maybe the 03 just came up a little too high. 42 didn't expect it, but don't think it caused any damage. So we're still safe and good to go there. But as these guys are kind of winding down laps here before we see the first green flag pit stop, I think it's a great time to go picture-in-picture commercial break. Oh, wait, hold on. We're going to back that up there. The 18 decided, hey, we're going to bring some action to the track. Brian Bliss, epic save there. by that machine and not wreck it. Not sure exactly what happened there. Just kind of drifted up the track and made some contact there with the 31. It almost looks like hitting, like he had a little bit of a steering issue. It almost went dead straight for just a moment, but be able to save that thing and keep it on track.
That was, I don't know if he drifted up and tried to pull it back down or what, but yeah, that was on the edge of spinning out. And that was a great save, as you mentioned. And these guys get around him. Yeah, hit Alex Murphy right there in the 31. Did that put him down to the inside? And yeah, that put him down the inside. That's why that outside lane we saw break up so much and kind of turn into nothing right now. We're basically single file down this whole entire. Oh, hold on, we got the 14 going around and Wayne Allen. No, he saved that too as he's coming off a 4. He drifted up to the high side, Jeremy, and I think he tried to get back in line and just turned it a little too hard, and that put, I believe it was 14 of Wayne Allen right there, as you see on NERDtv. Same thing that we saw just one lap ago with Brian Bush. So turn 4 right now, Jeremy coming off is not being too kind to some of these drivers.
We're getting our producer Dustin there in the back, starting to finally do some work. As he's trying to catch these camera angles, as soon as he tried to get a good shot of the 18, then the 14 wants to do something now, so he's going to backtrack that. And there we go. We see he just gets loose all by himself there from the roof camera even. You can see him shift up high. And then if you've driven these cars enough, you know what that feels like whenever the front starts turning left. It's not controlled, just so much speed, and if there's not enough grip in the car, things like that are going to happen, especially being 20 laps in, even though it's a super speedway. Tire wear is tire wear, and it'll show its face one way or another. But I think if they not want to try to wreck each other, we're going to try to go to commercial break this time. Looks like it has kind of sorted itself out. So we'll be right back in just a few short messages. Well, these guys continue to not want us to go to a commercial break here. They barely got us into one break or even 2 messages. And then the 03 of David Courier try to squeeze the gap between Brody Hanna and the 19 of Richie Cole. You're about to see it here on the NERDtv replay. This is right after that incident happened. So the 03 came down, tried to fit into a gap that was not there, clipped the 19's nose, and it sent the 03 up top, collecting the 11 and the 17 as well. So a total of 4 cars that made car contact in this wreck to bring out the first caution this evening.
Richie, your playoff leader right now, Jeremy, he got a little bit of that damage. Not too much, but it's still enough that's going to be worrisome here. So they're going to bring it down pit road and take care of it. We were mentioning some green flag pit stops. Well, I think we just changed that one to some caution pit stops right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be caution. These guys had a lot of practice and practice and pit road entries in practice, I should say, but they don't have to use that practice knowledge this time around, though. I was kind of actually watching the wreck here a little bit further back when the 11 and the 03 and everything kind of settled into where they were going to end up on the track. There was a big group of cars, the 26, 67, 37, and 47. All those guys coming off of turn number 2 had to make some evasive maneuvers to avoid those guys. Could have been a lot worse than that, but 4 cars involved in this incident. You know everyone's going to make their stop, so it's going to be a fresh set of tires all the way through.
Yeah, they're coming down pit road right as we speak right now. You're going to see the 15 bring them right on down pit road, leading by everyone else. I don't think we're going to have any cars staying out right now. So we'll see who has the fastest pit stop, and hopefully no one overshoots it, because this is definitely one where you don't want to overshoot it, because you can come out being in the top 2 to being outside the top 10, and we see how hard it is to pass right now. So
Yeah, a lot harder than I imagined. I think earlier this season we saw a lot better passing. Right now, these guys are either A, being really conservative out there on the track, or B, car has just been updated to where passing is next to nil. Um, of course, when this race heat picks up a little bit later on, maybe around like 70 or lap 80, we might see a different story. But right now, track position looks like it's a lot more key than what we would imagine earlier on.
Looks like everyone had a pretty good start. I mean, the 15 got off a lot sooner than everyone else did there. I think he only did. I'll have to take a look back and see why he got off it sooner, but he definitely got a good jump on everyone else. But everyone else off of pit road was pretty close to their battle. We saw the 15 come in first with the 8 right behind him, and that's how they're going to kind of roll off here, Jeremy. So those two are going to be starting side by side, and I'm going to be interested to see if, if one of them, whenever they get clear of each other, if they get bunched back up together, or if they're going to have a different strategy now that they're starting side by side.
And as these guys get lined back up behind the pace car here, we're just going to go through a top 10 recap for you guys. Nicholas Moreau looks like he's going to be exiting P1. Paul Bergolia's teammate to be at Talladega is going to be starting in P2 just to his outside. Third place, Ryan Murray. They're in that all-white 32. Fourth place, strong contender right now, Alex Murphy. And to round out the top 5 anyways, the 82 of Stan Carnathan showing some speed.
Yeah, it's a good run for the top 5. And then right behind them, you got Martin Garreau. He's going to be in 6th place with Brandon Elder. We know he's pretty good at the super speedways. He's sitting in 7th right now. Kyle Milliken, he's your pole sitter. He's dropped back a little bit. He's sitting in 8th place right now. And then right behind him, they lost a teammate there. You got Brody Hanna and Richie Coy round out your top 10. They lost their teammate there in the 11. I'm sure he's got some damage on him. I don't see him out here right now. Tony Solari. I'll have to look back through. I think he actually might be out on the track, might have it fixed, but we'll see where that damage plays a factor. But definitely a hit for those guys.
Yeah, the 11's just now exiting pit road as these guys almost get to him. So it looks like he beat the pace car out this time around. You see him right there on camera going around the apron side of Talladega. Turn number 1. Yeah, they almost lost 2 teammates. The 19 got some damage for sure. You would imagine if you were kind of dozing off, you're definitely awake now if you're the 19. You just get randomly door checked there in the middle of 1 and 2. Hopefully nothing's wrong with that car, though. We'll see when we get back up to speed here in the next lap. But, that's something to think about as they go back to green flag.
I want to keep an eye on definitely the night. He had a pretty good pit stop there. He still came off in 10th, so I don't think they had too much damage that they were fixing on that one. But he's definitely one to keep an eye on. As we mentioned, he's your playoff points leader right now. So he's got Richie, who's just 1 spot ahead of him, but he's only 15 points behind, so that's easily made up. But so him and the 11 definitely want to keep an eye on them and kind of see how that damage is playing out.
Yeah, this kind of shuffled some things up. We see the top contender still up there in the front, but saw a couple movers, take strategy. I think the 15 you mentioned, he had a faster pit stop. I don't know if I think I saw 2 tires and fuel only on that machine. Most other guys took 4. I know some guys were trying to move their way through the field, but it's overall. For me, it would have been 2 tires. I think if I were in the 24 shoes per se, who's now only in 26th with that penalty that he had on the beginning of the race, I would at least move myself up maybe in the 15th, give a better shot, because we know passing right now is just not where it should be.
Yeah, that's what I was looking back myself. Yeah, to see if he took 2, because he just had such a good pit stop on those guys, and yeah, definitely got that advantage on him. And I'm right there with you. I think if I was in the back, I would have took 2. Even if I was in the front, kind of like Nicholas there, I think I would have still took 2. So, but they got their different strategies to play out, how they want to do the race. So we'll see where it plays in favor. But I'm kind of with you on that one.
And 15 and 8 are in the safest place of the house right now. Been pretty clean up here on the front side of the track. And the green flag by the flagman is just out. Look how far away these cars are away from actually going. Waiting for the official green flag command, and there it finally drops a whole 10 seconds after the flagman's ready to go. 15 with an excellent launch there over the 32 and everybody on the inside, but that's going to play harm to them as they get to turn 2 and on the backstretch as the outside lane, that 8, the 30 31, the 50. They're going to kind of just plow through the top field here. There goes the 15, goes back to second, third, fourth place without the draft help. That's going to happen real quick.
Yeah, you see the 8 there. Paul jumped right down to the bottom to pick up that 15 as well. They work so well in the draft together. They're just going to flip spots, and this is like I mentioned earlier. We'll see if it's still going to be a good combo together with having the 15 push the 8, where we saw it reverse before, and what power they presented on that. But what a great start there on that outside lane.
Look at that, 19 right now, second on the inside lane. He restarted in 10th place, and it looks like he's going to cross the line maybe in 5th place. As him and the 37 are side by side at the line. Yeah, 5th place, so 5 positions gained by Richie Quay in that lap alone. So he took full advantage of that opportunity, made it happen. But it spaced him and his other teammate out, Mr. 23, Brody Hanna. They got a few cars separating themselves.
I guess we don't have to worry about the damage now, because that kind of answers that question as well. As Richie's car made it through the field there. But we see this outside lane, Jeremy, the 50th pushing the 31 here. It's just a great shot here on NERDtv. He's all over the back bumper, and that's just what he's doing, as we saw with the 15 and the 8, just walking bumpers and pushing all the way down the back straightaway. And that's keeping that speed up is what's going on there. And he's even right behind him, Jeremy. This outside lane is bunched up a lot tighter than what we saw earlier in the race, and that's kind of keeping that speed up there, kind of projecting them ahead of the inside lane there.
And you get away with this for the first couple laps after the restart. The engines are cooled off. You can bumper lock for 2 laps straight and not have to worry about blowing up. But then at that point, you have to give that space. And they realized, hey, we got the space on the inside lane. Why are we trying to push this any harder than what we should? The space kind of happened there and mellowed out the top lane, which once again, you see the majority of the field on the bottom half. But the top half has a little bit more drivers this time around. So, and the 31 and the 50, these guys are not leaving the top just yet.
Yeah, they're holding strong up there, and that's kind of saying earlier too. You see those guys that just like to run that high side and just love that momentum that you're getting. And you know, we see it right now with the 31 and the 50 just sitting on that high side, pushing them. They can take an opportunity to go down to, I think they're about 4 cars. The only thing I worry about is that right there, kind of getting out of line, Jeremy, because you try to get back in, and that speed that second car in line's pushing, you might be able to come across that nose and push into the outside wall. So that's one thing you got to be careful of, trying to come back in line if you get down a little bit.
Yeah, you want to be communicating, especially if you're going to bumper lock with someone for a while on this track. You want to know what their moves are, how you're going to stay behind them and be the most efficient you can be. And know you have to duck your nose out to kind of, get some air on the nose and cool off the engine a little bit. When you do that, though, it puts essentially like an air brake on the line. And the 50 looks down a little bit below the 31, but as soon as you saw that, here comes the 98, the 42, the 18 on the bottom. Get a little bit of air on the nose, and all of a sudden the inside lane's making its shift, and its car number count's a lot higher on the top side. It's going to bring this 98 here all the way up to the front. Chris Curtis trying to lead the lap, does not this time. Still gained 4 spots that lap. Good moves there by the 98.
Yeah, that was a great move up through the field there by the 98, and he's definitely got the momentum going on right now. If he can just keep that going around, he's try to see him get himself a lap wet here as the next time by. But that sitting on that top side, Jeremy, those front 2 are still walked up together pretty good, as we see a great push here by the 50 of Martin Garreau again, right on the back bumper, not propelling him too far out, but still getting a great run down. But we'll see if the 98 can kind of close that gap here in 3 and 4.
If I remember right, it was, I think, the end of season 2022A is when Martin Garreau got his first race of the season, and it was at this track here at Talladega. So really no surprise to see the 50 up here doing some work. Martin Garreau looking to kind of sweep the Talladega year as they're at race 2 of 2 at this track in 2022.
Yeah, why not go for the sweep, right?
Yeah, mine as well, right? It's definitely the track that you are most comfortable with, and it's clearly shown for him. So he's doing some excellent pushing there behind Alex Murphy in the 31, keeping that 98 in second, third, or fourth place. I'm sure the 67 of James Wallace, 37 of Dublé. These guys are appreciating this high side momentum here, but the 67 of Wallace makes the move to the bottom. He sees the speed. He brings Dublé with him. New race leader temporarily, James Wallace.
See the 33, Jeremy Sherwood-Wilford. He's going up to the outside. He's blinking a little bit on my end. It could just be me, but he's sitting on that outside 3 wide right now. He's got no drafting help at all. I don't know if he got a great run and just, instead of checking up, went up to the outside, but that's going to put him all the way in the back unless he can tuck in line. And no one's letting him in, Jeremy. He's going to drop back in a hurry.
That's going to change the dynamic on the top lane altogether. They had the momentum. They had the lead cars. And now you see him down to the bottom and 3 wide with the 33 still trying to fight for any type of help. He's got the 10 of Ryan Chapman to his inside, as well as Brandon Elder in the 51. The 3 wide goes away, and now it looks like the 33 has a little bit of help from the 18 behind him as soon as they can get closed up. But this inside lane, all of a sudden, it took 2 cars to move to the bottom to kind of change the entire structure of this field.
Yeah, and the 33 jumping up to the outside, making it 3 wide, I think kind of just messed up that outside lane. Side drafting, those guys slowed them down, and some of them jumped down, and other ones kind of fell back. So a little combination of the two definitely killed that outside run. But 33 is coming back on the outside. Jeremy's got a couple with them, but there's only going to put 5 on the outside. And we saw what happened earlier with that inside lane just built up too much, and nothing for the outside can do about it.
And since these guys are, looks like they're settled in, we're going to try to take a full commercial break this time around. So stay tuned as we go picture in picture. We'll be right back.
The vibration in this car is the worst vibration that I've ever had, and the shifter's broken again.
Are you ready to chase the moonlight? Community-based and talent-driven, Moonlight Speed Concepts has what you need to take your iRacing experience to the next level. Founded by passionate owners that care about the community and housing some of the top setup builders and drivers on the platform, Moonlight Speed Concepts offers custom paints, driver coaching, and setups for dirt, asphalt short track racing, and eNASCAR competition. Partnered with top brands in both real world and simulation. Follow us on Facebook or visit moonlightspeed.com and find out why these businesses chase the moonlight and why you should too. Moonlight Speed Concept, where all we chase is moonlight.
All right, welcome back to full screen coverage, full throttle sim racing, Mach-1 Performance Cup Series action here at Talladega Super Speedway. Currently lap 38 of scheduled 94. And we're going to bring you guys a Mach-1 Performance Top 10 recap. First and foremost, Richie Coy, not first on the camera, but first on that last lap there at the start-finish line. Running pretty strong here, considering he's one teammate down. James Wallace in that 67 continues to be strong, currently right behind that 19. Alex Murphy also put on a really strong race here. Currently just took the lead on this lap here in that 31 machine. Martin Garreau, they're in the 50. And we mentioned him before we went to a commercial break. He's looking to kind of sweep the Talladega 2022 year, and he has a car to do it for sure. And then lastly, Paul Bergolian, the 8 machine. One of those cars that been sticking to the 15, and they've been doing some excellent work, but right now they're kind of in a shuffle here, trying to get back to the bottom.
Down a little bit. They went from the top to the bottom to the top, so they're moving their way back up. They were, I think, about 4th or 5th in line, Jeremy, on that inside lane. So they moved to the top side, trying to see if they can get back in line. But, you know, other than Richie Coy, there you got those 2 teammates right behind you, 37 and 67. And speaking of the 67, James Wallace, he was all over the back bumper of Richie Coy there, trying to give him a shot going into turn 1. But they got some speed there as they're trying to regain that top spot there on the inside lane.
The rest of the running order here, Chris Curtis, the 98, also one of those guys that was kind of running midfield until like the last 20 laps, and all of a sudden you start to show what his car is worth, and he might be one of those guys that you might push to the front because he has a really strong car as well. Brian Bliss has finally cracked back inside the top 10 after having that woe about, I think that was about 25 laps ago, where he almost turned dead straight off the exit of 4. Clearly no damage, nothing wrong with that machine. He's up and running. And then the 15 of Moreau, just kind of hanging out right now, 3rd in line on the top. We got the 8 behind him, as I mentioned already. The outside, for a moment it looked like it wasn't going to be anything, but now he's kind of regrouped, Ken, and the outside lane is almost the preferred lane at the moment.
Yeah, and you know, they didn't change the lead cars. It's been the 31 and the 50 this entire time. They're on the outside. They just kind of got a little bit more speed behind them with Nicholas and Paul. But you see Nicholas move down to the inside, did not bring Paul with him, but he knows that inside lane. He's got the power, so he's going to go right in front of Richie Coy. He's a good pusher. But I wouldn't be surprised, Jeremy, if Paul actually, yep, as I was speaking, there he goes right there as well. So that's exactly what they wanted, to see these guys on the inside lane. We might see what we saw earlier.
That might have been pre-planned there, where the 15 dips down. He knows the 8's going to get a great run. And with the 15 kind of backpedaling a little bit to catch the 19, allow the 8 to easily come down in front of the 15. Now this is a very, very similar situation between these two guys, where they've been at the bottom, nose to tail, as they go 3 wide here with Steven Loomis. He's going to go a lap down now in that 17 machine. And the 8, actually, or 18, Brian Bliss making some moves here. He's going to lead the inside charge here on the bottom on the backstretch.
Got to get a big bump. Nope, Paul backed up a little bit. I was going to give him a shove there as they're heading in the 3, but just fell right in line with him. That's going to put Brian Bliss, we mentioned earlier, he's a Talladega winner in the Truck Series, so you know, he's familiar with being up towards the front of these super speedways, and he's trying to get a good run on the inside. He's trying to lead himself a lap for the first time today.
1 car position left, and he is there, and he's got great help behind him. But the 50 and the 31 are working so well together on the top right now. They're almost inseparable this run. And I know we have pit stops maybe coming up kind of soonish. It's probably, if they go green the rest of the way, Ken, I think they got 1 more left in them, so we'll see when that happens. But right now the 18 off of turn number 2 does clear the 31 temporarily, so if they can get back to the start finish line, register that 18 with a lap lead.
And, kind of looking back through, Jeremy, I didn't notice Stephen Llewellyn. He's going to be our first driver that's going to be out of the race, actually. Well, that's mainly disconnected other than a wreck besides David and Steve. Stephen Llewellyn is out of the race, and he was one that we were excited to watch come up through the field, and he just never seemed to make his way up through the field, Jeremy, ever since that EOL. So tough night for him, not the night he wanted, but we'll see him back next week.
Yeah, it looks like there's something failure with the car. He just was by himself and then came down pit road and parked it. Did not show any reason why, but that's unfortunate. I'm with you. I was kind of see what he can do through the field, but passing is just so tough. It seems like if you're way farther in the back like he was, and so he could never recover from that penalty. And then with a little bit of an issue, had to park that machine, and yeah, he's going to be, I think, registered last place after, David Curry in the 0-3 goes around the track 5 more times.
Yeah, not the night he wanted, but we got 33 on the inside wall. Jeremy going to hit hard there. One car, I have to look back and see, I think it was a black car, came down and just door slammed the side of the 33, shoved him to the inside wall. Not sure if he was blinking on his screen or not. We know he's had some blinking issues, but nothing's coming over the radios just yet. But yeah, that was a hard hit on that inside wall there.
You're going to catch it on NERDtv replay. The 4, Chad Lang just full sends it to the bottom of the track, did not see the 33, clipped his right front nose and sent him hard to that inside retaining wall there. Even though it's a virtual car, good thing the safety barrier was there, but that's gonna be almost the night. You see the back tires just lift off the ground. You see how much speed he slammed that inside wall.
Damage doesn't look too bad either.
These next gen bodies, the driver takes the damage, not the car. So that's why the nose looks pretty clean. You see one more shot there on the hood and boom, just smashes the wall. Basically no damage, but the driver, thank the Lord he's a virtual driver.
Yeah, he absorbed it all, unfortunately. But yeah, that was not the night that the 33 of Sherwood's been wanting, having some blinking issues and then hard into the inside wall. But no caution, just a 1-car spin. The iRacing has been pretty strong on not throwing cautions with it's just 1-car spins, especially if it doesn't come back up on the track in front of other cars. So not too surprised to see you keep this green flag going.
And when we left to look at the 33 hit the wall, the inside lane was about 4 car lengths ahead of the first guy on the top lane. And then we come back, and now they're side by side by side, and the 18 lost his lead, currently sitting 3rd in line. It only looks like the 8 and the 15 maybe just separated from the 18 and then past them, drop back down, and now they're going to resume on the bottom. But then Brian Bliss, as soon as I mentioned that, he's like, you know what? I want to take that spot back, and now he's going to bring Alex Murphy with him.
Great battle that they're going on here and kind of moving around positions. We didn't see it earlier, but these guys are getting a little bit racier here. Seeing some spots open up a little bit more. See the 51 there. I believe that's the 51. I have to look back and see, but jumped to the outside a little bit, left a hole, and had to squeeze back in line. That's the thing. You don't want to get shuffled out, too high on the outside there, Jeremy. If you go up just a little too much and that hole fills with someone getting a run, that'll push you back in a hurry. We saw that with Sherwood when he jumped up to the outside and how quickly he fell back to the back.
Yeah, we sure did. And then the 18 actually falling back a couple more spots as the 31's all over his bumper, trying to get him to go. But right now, the inside lane seems to have the momentum. Maybe the 18's just not the greatest car to be pushing right now in the top spot. Alex Murphy in that 31 and the 50 of Garreau, if they can get back around him, we saw those 2 cars just making a killing there on the top, trying to get as much ground gain as possible. But currently, inside lane has the charge 4 car lengths before you get to the first car on the top.
I don't think it's going to matter between who's the pusher and who's being pushed with the 8 and the 15. We saw it the opposite way earlier in the green flag run, and we're seeing it this side, and they're still got the speed and the pushing power. So those 2, Jeremy, they're going to be hard to beat. Some cars you just see have it today, and those 2 so far seem to have it. But Richie Coy, he's not too far back. He's sleeping. But Brian Bliss, Jeremy, he's got to run the outside as we speak.
Looks like the outside got a few more cars on the tail end of this pack, and now it's 2 by 2 by 2 all the way through this first main pack of cars. And the 90, or the 18 rather, almost clears the 8, getting to the start-finish line. Currently P1, Paul Bergoli, P2, Nicholas Moreau in 3rd place. Brian Bliss registered that lap on lap 49.
Outside lane just got a great run right now. 4 or 5 cars going by that inside run. We'll see if any one of these duck to the inside. Right now we got the 30. We know the 31 and the 50 is going to stay up on the high side, Jeremy. They've been having a great run there as well. But the 18, Brian Bliss, he's got quite a run on these guys too. So we'll see where, yeah, they're going to duck to the inside and go right around that 18. That's going to push him back to the 14 away now. And
yeah, I saw the lane kind of shift down a little bit, and I was like to myself as you were talking, I was like, I don't think that's going to work well. You're going to break up the top, and the inside's going to go through. But yeah, the 31 and the 50 have been working so well. Try not to leave each other. They went to the bottom, but then they went back to the top, which kind of surprised me. I know they've been liking the top lane, but when you go to the bottom, then back to the top, you just destroy the top momentum, and then the bottom comes through and says, hello, thanks for the spot. And you're seeing that right now with the 8 and the 15, is now they resume side by side with the 31 and 50.
And they just enjoy that high side racing, I believe, too. As quickly as they jumped up there, they went ahead and make that pass on Brian Bliss and said, let's get right back up to the top. So I think that's going to be their comfort zone. Jeremy is setting up on that high side where we see Paul and Nicholas on the low side. That seems to be their comfort zone tonight.
Yes, it looks like we got you in the 31 on the top, and then myself as the 8 on the bottom. That's how our strategy would play out. And both have been working so far tonight.
Yeah, me and our producer Dustin, we did a little race earlier this week in the Open, and we were able to bring it home 1-2 with kind of that top side momentum to the last couple laps and went on the inside. So we worked both lanes that night.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you can make it work and you guys got the trucks or cars or whatever you're racing, whatever works best. And it's been a lot of variables watching this field. You see the inside taking over again. 4 or 5 cars rather are clear of the top lane. It's just weird who you get behind you on that top lane to make it work, make it not work. They have enough cars there. You see so much space between each and every driver right now, and minus the top 5. They're all really spaced, and that tells me that either A, the cars aren't super comfortable, or the setups are just that different. Either way, it's preventing anybody from making any big moves.
Yeah, no side draft either. We've kind of been watching that as well, and we'll probably start seeing it pick up a little bit, but haven't seen too much of it where they're trying to steal some of that momentum from them and move their way through the field. But again, we're just, we just reached over halfway a couple laps ago, so there's still plenty more time.
Yeah, as the top lane kind of dissipates a little bit more. The 57, it looks like, makes the move to the top here. Let's see what he's got in store for these guys. Actually, it's going to be the 97. Sorry, that's Mr. Jonathan Vachon. He's going to quickly pass the 67. The 19 gets to this door panel of his teammate and team owner, Nicholas Moreau, in the 15. And one car all of a sudden just changes the whole landscape there on the upper lane.
A great run here by the 97 of Vachon. He's going to get a good push here by the 31 and the 50. All 3 of them, Jeremy, just going. You see the 97 jump right down to the inside lane. He's going to work with these guys. He knows that he's got some fast cars behind him now, but the 31 and the 50, they're still sitting on that high side, Jeremy. They're not leaving it. They're making it work no matter who's behind them or who's with them.
The 50 actually bumps the 31 right in the middle of the corner, and I thought for sure there was going to go around, but somehow kept it straight, and it gave the 31, I think, enough momentum to get to the line first. It sure did. Alex Murphy's going to lead that lap on lap 54. Coming off into the exit of turn number 2 here. The 97 temporarily has the advantage here, but the 50 and the 31 once again are going to get a great run off the top here. It's going to bring everyone side by side. Now the 8 of Bergoli pushing that 97 just like he was with the 15. 8 definitely showing his strength here behind these Moreau Motorsports machines. Inadvertently found themselves a teammate, so to speak, for at least Talladega.
They definitely hooked up for sure, and hear the 44 Chris Beck coming over the radio saying sorry about that. So we might have had something big, Jeremy, or we missed it, but we'll have to go back and take a look at that and see what exactly happened. But they're still keeping it side by side. I mean, the inside lane's pulling on these guys a little bit. They're about 5 car lengths ahead of that outside lane, but they're still just 2 wide racing and keep it side by side.
Yeah, the 44 just came off of turn number 2 and yeeted the back bumper of the 12. Sent him to the Josh Mayu just below the yellow line. He saved it, no problem there, but cost a little bit of ground on that 12 as he resumes back in line. But no one wrecked. Almost was a big wreck between this small group of cars, but still safe and still green.
We see him going by some leaders there, making it 3 wide for just a split second. They were involved up in the wreck earlier. You got the 17 there. Steve Loomis pushing the 03 of David Courier. Those guys are just taking off some laps, like you mentioned. They got around Stephen Wu Allen. That's going to officially put him in 32nd spot, where he's going to stay for the remainder of the race. But kind of looking back ahead, we see the leaders here, Jeremy. Now they're even a little bit further on that gap. We see the 18 now, Brian Biss leading that outside lane.
Yeah, let's see what this does for the field here. Right now the inside's still pretty dominant, but as we come through turn number 3, I definitely see that momentum shift happening here. They're a lot more tighter of a pack there on the top half. Right now temporarily going to fall back just a little bit side by side with the 50 of Garou. Let's come off turn number 4. Let's see if that 14 get back to the 18. Looks like got a little bit of momentum actually after a little bit of side draft. So they're still kind of there. It's just they're having such a tough time depending on who's where to get any type of momentum. Inside clearly has that run right now. And you're seeing the 15 and the 8 or 97 and the 8 kind of just doing their thing in the front spots.
It's just so hard to pass tonight here at the track. I mean, if you get in that high lane and then you make your way onto the inside, you be able to hold it, as we've seen the 8 and the 15 do all race. That's how the 97 Jonathan was able to get into the spot that he's in right now. So, you know, it's kind of like, do you take that chance, jump into the outside and then move down to the inside, or just going to keep it on the inside? We see Richie Coy, who's been kind of sitting in that 3rd to 4th spot on that inside lane ever since he gained about 6 spots there on the restart. And he hasn't moved at all, Jeremy. He's been committed to that inside lane. He's kind of holding down 4th. He's either figured I'm going to get 4th or 8th. So I think he's kind of committed himself to the bottom lane unless he can get worked with some teammates. And speaking of teammates, Jeremy, Brody Hanna, he's in that 2nd pack. That is 15 seconds back of this lead pack. And we mentioned Tony Solari getting in that incident earlier in the race. So there is no help right now for Richie Coy. He is all out there by himself. And like I mentioned, he's your playoff points leader. But so far, so good for him.
A caution would be the only thing to bring these guys back together. If not for that, 19's got to do a lot of different work with other drivers to make something happen for him. But as these guys are, you know, coming up close to the green flag pit stops, we're going to go back to another commercial break and go picture-in-picture mode. We'll be right back with you guys.
The vibration in this car is the worst vibration that I've ever had, and the shifter's broken again.
Are you ready to chase the moonlight? Community-based and talent-driven, Moonlight Speed Concepts has what you need to take your iRacing experience to the next level. Founded by passionate owners that care about the community and housing some of the top setup builders and drivers on the platform, Moonlight Speed Concepts offers custom paints, driver coaching, and setups for dirt, asphalt short track racing, and eNASCAR competition. Partnered with top brands in both real world and simulation. Follow us on Facebook or visit moonlightspeed.com and find out why these businesses chase the moonlight and why you should too. Moonlight Speed Concept, where all we chase is moonlight.
Welcome back to full screen coverage for the Full Throttle Sim Racing broadcast here, presented by by NERDtv, the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. And pit stops are, you kind of watched the majority of the green flag pit stops while we're on that commercial break. Saw one main pack the first time around, and then the remainder of the leaders came down the second time. We saw a couple of pit miscues, like the 15 Nicholas Moreau, who's running dominant with that 8 on the top of the field. Overshot his pit stall by a stall and a half, had to back it up quite a bit. And that's going to bring him back into a second pack scenario here with the 32 and the 54. But outside of that, the main pack is kind of spaced out at the moment. Simon Magden here, Martin Garreau, Brian Bliss, Brandon Elder. These guys are it. And there's only about 10 to 12 cars, I would say, that are connected in this main set of cars, Ken.
Yeah, and you still got the 97 and Jonathan and the 19 of Richie still out there in the lead. These guys are coming behind them, but great pit stop with Egan around him. But you see the run that Wayne Allen has, he's going to go ahead and blow by these guys, and we'll see how many come down to that inside lane. They're not going to lose too much time here, or ground. I think you're going to see the 67 tuck right behind Richie there, so that's going to put 3 on the inside. Don't see the 51 Brandon Elder clear. He's going to be stuck out there. The dry Jeremy, he's going to have to get some help from the 31 right behind him.
You saw him making some lane shifts, trying to do something, and it's now he's picked up finally by Alex Murphy in that 31. That's a great drafting partner to have. He's been showing a crazy amount of speed so far here this evening. As now Brandon Elder is going to try to lead this little 4-car charge, 4 versus 8 right now, top versus bottom. So we'll see how that works for these guys, but much smaller lead pack after green flag pit stops.
Mentioned Nicholas Moreau coming down and overshooting his pit stall by almost 2 full pit stalls. That's going to put him all the way back to 18th, Jeremy. Sitting 5 seconds behind these leaders. That's in a 4-car pack. So they've got a 4-car pack with a 14-car. So they want to see those guys racing side by side as much as they can to kind of slow them down a little bit. But 5 seconds, Jeremy, that's a lot to gain, especially between a 4-car pack.
And those guys, teammates that are similar stall locations, and I wonder if we got mixed up on the crew box. A lot of them are the same colors. They're in that bluish, tealish, and white color scheme. So you might have mistaken his pit box for somebody else's, because that's usually if you miss the pit stall, it's by a half a stall at most, but to go by a stall and a half, that was a massive miscue somewhere in it. 5 seconds. That's huge here at Talladega.
On NERDtv here, you see the 31, Alex Murphy, taking the lead with Simon Magden right behind him. We know he's got some speed. We've seen him win a couple of, I think we've seen one win at Super Speedway last season. So we know he's up at the front, and he can do what he can do with the 50 of Martin Garreau right behind him. He's been a great pusher all day. So this 50 and 31, Jeremy, they're that competition class to that 15 and the 8 that we've seen all day. But Paul doesn't have his drafting partner with him. As we mentioned, he's back all the way in 18th spot. So without a caution, I don't think those guys are going to catch back up, and we're going to see a battle here. The 31, the 50, Jeremy, they're going to be strong towards the end of this race.
Like to bring up too the 15 with him going back like that. That's second place in points, 11 points out of the rookie point leader Paul Bergoli, who's benefiting out of the 2 cars in this scenario, just running inside top 5, top 10 area. So it's almost about a 10 position difference between these guys, depending on where the 8 lanes in his group of cars. So this is going to further extend that lead if they can keep it clean the rest of the way. And this is exactly what you want to see, especially at a super speedway, where you know it could be anything at any time. So right now it's setting himself up in a pretty position to go to the back half of the scheduled championship 2022C.
So you saw him duck down to the inside there. That was just about a whole lane shift to the 67. Or sorry, the 19 of Richie Coy made that first move down there. 67 saw him, jumped out in front of him. The 8 Paul went right with him, and then the 97 kind of tucked down. So that inside lane went from about 4 drivers to 8, just like that. And they got some speed down there. They're still about 3-4 back, but they're trying to get that momentum as the high side's been kind of taking it away from them after the green flag pit stops.
Yeah, the outside in the 46, we haven't seen him up in the top 3 yet this evening, but he has separated the 31 and the 50, the 2 cars that have worked so well so far on the top lane. But the 46, Simon Magden's been doing a quite phenomenal job up there, keeping the pace up top, right where they want it to be, which is faster than the bottom. That's where they feel the most comfortable. Those guys currently leading that charge on the top. So, you know, things are looking pretty good for this middle lane right now.
At 46, you can see he's all over the back there of the 31. Gave him a good couple of bumps there on the backstretch a couple of laps ago. You can see it when it kind of that car kicks out a little bit. You know, you gave him a good shot. It's just got to be careful, like we were saying. You know, kind of losing that speed and don't want to turn anybody. But these guys, you know, at Full Throttle Sim Racing, top-notch drivers out here, so I don't think we have too much to worry about that, but that is just something that you always want to keep in the back of your mind. As a 67 here, Jeremy, James Wallace, he's getting a run on that inside with Richie Coy, give him a nice shove after coming off of turn 4 there. That's going to propel him out to that lead spot. See if he can come around and lead this lap this time by.
19 still shoving the 67 around the tri-oval and the James Wallace machine. I think this is going to be his first lap led this evening. There, that white and green Grow Life machine. But the 31 and the 46 are close by. They're still making a good amount of charge here on the top, but the 97 gets right back to the 19 as well. It's making this race pretty interesting. Dead heat here going down the backstretch.
You see the 46 kind of tucking out a little bit and seeing him do that. I'm not sure if he's cooling off that engine a little bit. He's jumping out just a touch to kind of get that nose out there in some clean air and cool it down, and then he jumps right back in line, gives him a nice push. But that's just enough right there, Jeremy, to get the 67 and James Wallace back up into that inside, trying to take the lap back, but that outside lane is just going to have too much power coming off of 4, and it's going to kind of push back across the line. That's what we're seeing here. You know, it's just all that momentum shift to see who has a better run and kind of shifts every other lap.
And these guys start to wind down. Quick sponsor shout out to Martin Sports. Martin Sports is the small company with a big-time product, home of the sim gloves and all of sim racing. They make the most breathable and durable gloves in the sim world. They also specialize in fully customized sublimation printing on everything from team uniforms to shirts and hoodies, allowing for zero restriction on colors, which allow for the absolute fastest turnaround in the business. Check out the full apparel line and merchandise line at martinsports906.com, and make sure to use that promo code SUPERNERD. It's a whopping 25% off. Then we come up across a couple lap cars, the 03 and the 17. Temporarily makes it a 3-wide situation, but enough space given. No problems going through that little section there. In the top lane, Kenny, now about 5 or 6 cars. And as soon as I say that, the 2 cars drop down to the bottom here. Leading the charge there, it looks like the 51 and the 42, as they're going to try to hook up and get this inside lane moving. Excuse me, it's going to be the 91 Justin Deltz. First time we've seen him lead the pack tonight. The 14 just squeezes his nose right there. Temper is going to slow down the top lane, but the 14 Lane Allen wants a piece of this. So looks like Lane Allen's going to try to lead himself a lap.
You know, and you mentioned it earlier, Jeremy, with Brian Bliss, who took that hard left to the inside and saved it. We had the 14 do the same thing 1 lap later. So both those guys who were almost out of this race, you know, about 40 laps ago, were sitting here running inside the top 5, possibly trying to get up into that lead. We saw Brian Bliss had that opportunity earlier. Now Lane Allen trying to do the same thing.
Let's see if he has enough power. But nope, the 18 Brian Bliss also wants to come down, join the party there, as he's going to try to help this inside lane. It's down to 5 cars now on the top side of the track. Who's going to be the next one to dip down? It looks like that momentum shift might be happening. And it looks like Brandon Elder is going to take that spot there. So Brandon Elder now to the bottom. 4 cars remaining on the top.
Yeah, that outside lane is just starting to dwindle down. And we know the 31 and the 50 have been kind of riding that high side high all race. But we'll see if they give up hope on it right now, or if they're going to kind of stay here and ride it high. We see Richie Coy, Jeremy. I'm not sure if he got shuffled out or tried to make room in line, but he's jumped out to the outside. He might have a great run. See if he can tuck up behind these guys. We saw him sitting in 4th, and with everyone kind of tucking into that inside lane from the outside, that pushed him back to about 4 cars from the end of that pack. And yeah, we're seeing some of these guys in the back, Jeremy, that were on that inside lane jumping up to the outside right now.
Temporarily awesome move there by Richie Coy. He does suck up to the back of this top pack, no problem. And then right behind them, the 37 and now the 67 see it, and they want to do the same thing, as they're going to make that charge up to the front pack here. In the 19, Richie Coy does drop in front of the 51, so he gains all the spots on the top, gets back in line on the bottom, and now he's going to try to pass the 4 here. Chad Lang moving along side by side with the 50 of Martin Garreau as they come to the tri-oval.
See, if you're the 46 of Simon Madigan, you're sitting there thinking, well, I know the 50 and the 31 are fast. Do I stay up here on the high side, or do I make a move on the inside? Because you know if he goes on that inside, Jeremy, that's going to put the 50 and the 31 back together, who we mentioned and seen have shown great speed in this race. So the 46 is in a good spot, but he's also got some decision-making to do.
I think right now you just kind of hang on with the 50 and the 31. I would keep it there as much as you can, because right now it just doesn't look like the inside lane has enough power to get to these top 3, as they're doing a phenomenal job sitting there on the top side of the track. It is 7 versus 5, but the 4 and the 14 dipping down to the bottom. They're going to take that momentum from the backstretch, head off into turn number 3. It's going to bring them alongside the leader, the 31 of Alex Murphy. Who's going to come across the line first this time? Will be Chad Lang in the number 4 for the first time. But right now, it looks like they kind of fall away temporarily. It's going to allow the 31 to lead this lap this time by, as we're just now under 20 laps remaining.
Laps to go. Chad Wayne with a great run. We're seeing some of these guys who were laying back early in the race kind of getting up in here and getting close to the action. Those green flag pit stops did change this race up quite a bit, Jeremy. We're having some guys that were sitting back in the back of the pack that maybe went to the front, and you know, opposite the other way, we see the 15, Nicholas Moreau, who's still sitting back in 18th. They're not making up any ground. They're still sitting about 5 seconds back, Jeremy. So, you know, we've been on about 10 plus laps or so and still no movement. So those guys, like you said earlier, unless we get a caution, they're going to be done for the race. So this is going to be this 14 pack of cars right now that's going to be battling out to the end. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone in the back, and that someone in the back, Jeremy, is at 8 there. Paul Bagoli, he's sitting there running second to the end of this pack, and we got 20 to go. I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing him make some moves with about 10 to go, making his way up to the front of this pack.
You know, him and the 97 of Vachon have one of the dominant cars here in this pack. So I would imagine they're just kind of laying away, saying, hey, we're going to wait for 10 laps to go. We know what our car is worth. We're going to strike at the right time, and that's probably what they're going to end up doing. The top pack, the top 8 are kind of shuffling around. There's a lot of left to right motion. I saw the 50 at one point back up really far from the 46 bumper, but brought himself right back to it, and then in the following corner. But temporarily, I thought maybe there was an engine issue, but looks like not to be. 18 moving around quite a bit. The 51 also on the bottom. He shifts up almost to the second lane there, coming through turn number 4. So maybe a little bit of handling issue, or maybe just guys trying to feel out what they have exactly in their car, how quick they can turn the wheel, and maybe set themselves up for a late race pass for the win.
So same thing when I was watching Brandon Elder get through turns 3 and 4, and yeah, he drifted up twice in that, and you know, that's, you know, having the handling later in the run here, and also that's going to kind of mess up that momentum you have on the inside a little bit, shifting out of lane and losing that run you have. So just little things like that you're going to have to pay attention for, and we're starting to get down to the end of it, Jeremy. If a hole opens up, I think some of these guys are going to take it, and if it's not your teammate and you shuffle them to the back, you know, that's just part of what the racing is. So we could see some of these guys here go 3 wide as we're going around some lap cars right now. We're speaking of 3 wide. Well, they're going to open up a hole, and someone's going to take it, and that they're going to get shuffled to the back. So you want to keep the line as tight as you can right now and not give any room for anyone to make a move on you.
It's so tempting to see that hole and to not go for it, or to go for it. Like, if you think it's going to give you a position or 2, you take it, right? But then do you know if that lane then is going to keep the momentum for you, or is it just going to be a temporary success and a long-term failure? That's kind of the risk versus reward there when it comes to these super speedway races. For me right now, I think there's enough laps where you still just kind of search for that partner that you need to make that move. But if you're the 8 and the 97 right now, we've seen the passing struggles overall with most of these guys. I don't know if you wait this long before making that move, because if you can't go 3 wide and the lanes aren't really moving, back and forth a lot at this moment in time, like, it's either now or never in my book if you're sitting there in 10th place.
Yeah, I think if you're sitting further back, it's definitely time to start thinking about your move and start slowly making it. And these guys have went around here almost 80 times, so they definitely have what move they want to make in their mind and where they want to go with it. And like we see Richie Coy sitting third on that inside lane, we know he's going to possibly be making a move, or he could be just playing a good points day as well. His teammate Brody Hanna, who's the closest to him in points, coming in 15 points back of the race right now. If they finish the way they did come across the line, he's got 14 spots on him, Jeremy. I mean, that's, from what we've been seeing on this field as far as the Route 30 driver average, that's a whole race that he'd have an advantage. So it's one of those things where he might just kind of stay in line. But we see the 67 there, James Wallace get up to the inside, and that's going to slow up the momentum on that inside line for just a second.
James Wallace actually made a pretty good move there to jump inside of the 4, loose across his nose. And that 51 of Brandon Nutter, I can't take my eye off him. This car is just all over the place. I'm not sure. It has to be some kind of handling issue, because I'm not seeing it from anybody else. And it's kind of backed up a couple of the people on the inside lane, and it's on this outside to continue to do what they do. The 44 and the 11 now, Chris Beck and Tony Solari, they're going to kind of suck up here to the back bumper of these guys. Even though they're not for position, they're going to assist this top lane even further, as they got the 3 powerhouses currently leading the way on the top.
We'll see if these lap cars have any speed to kind of stay up with the pack. It looks like the 44 and the 11 might have a little bit of speed. Now, of course, I don't think they want to interfere with the race, but they might be able to tag along here, which will be nice for them. They're not sitting there running by themselves, just kind of cruising around, collecting laps. So at least this will give them a little bit of excitement. But if they got some speed here, we've seen it in the past, Jeremy, where we've had some lap cars kind of work with their teammates, and we got the 11 and the 19 right there. So if they got some speed, I wouldn't be surprised if that 11, Tony Solari, kind of gets down there and works with his teammate Richie Coy to give him a couple more spots.
I'm looking at the leaderboard too, and there's only 3 cars, Kenny, that are 1 lap down. And would you believe it's the 44 Chris Beck and the Tony Solari machine, the number 11? Those 2 cars are 1 lap down. So even though they look like they're temporarily cruising, this is for Lucky Dog. And so that's why I think they're partly kind of mixing things up as well. And the 44 gets a great launch throughout the bottom here. It's going to separate these 2. But these guys are battling for something. If there's a caution, this is a chance to get back on the lead lap right here.
And the 44 Chris Beck took his opportunity with the 4 Chad Lane when Chad went down to the bottom there. So as soon as he saw him dive down, he went right with him. And these guys have the speed. So even after that wreck that they were involved in, they still had the power to keep it going. So definitely going to see these guys trying to battle it out, and Tony's trying to get on the outside momentum to get around the 44, because as you mentioned, you want to get that lucky dog. But I think we start coming down to 2 or 3 to go. He's going to kind of work with that teammate as well as Richie Coy and see what he can do. But this outside lane at 31, Jeremy, if Alex Murphy's still strolling strong. I mean, they're 5-6 car lengths ahead of that inside the 4 car Chad.
If you can notice the difference here, it's how tight those cars are together. You see the top 3, top 4. Yeah, they're like separated by a foot, maybe 2. In the 67's case, he actually bumped the 37 going through turn 3 and 4. You don't want to do that. But when you got those cars really tightly packed up, you cause more speed, just less air friction on the nose of the cars. You can do more with the speed. If you look at the inside lane, there's about a half a car length separating each and every car in that lower lane. It's keeping your engines cooler, but it's allowing more air to hit the nose, which causes more air friction. Can't get as much speed on the bottom that way. And we're starting to see some shuffling here in the back. The 10 of Ryan Chapman bolting through here. He's making a good run here. 32 comes into play a little bit. So this top pack has kind of grown some cars here, Ken.
Yeah, and you saw the 14 there, Wayne Allen. He also got a little bit squirrely coming off a 2, and I think that kind of jumbled up everybody. Just a touch there on that inside lane, and that was a close call as well. As we know, Wayne Allen, he coming off a 4, a few laps back. We mentioned he also turned on the inside, so we know that car has some handling issues that we can pay attention of. But Definitely don't want that to happen when you run inside the top 5, top 10.
Yes. Quick shout out here was as soon as we got 10 laps to go, we're gonna shout out to Roasted Gems Coffee that offers premium quality, ethically produced coffee gems from different parts of the world, coupled with the delicious blends and flavors that will make your taste buds melt with delight. Roasted Gems Coffee is the only place to quench your caffeinated coffee desires. They offer the values of the coffee experience with each order, roasted to perfection upon the order, shipped straight to your door for the peak flavor. Whether you want a mellow flavor, which is a hint of caffeine to get your day started, or whether if you want coffee so strong it'll show up on a drug test. Roasted Gems Coffee has you covered. That's at roastedgems.com, and we have a promo code as always, Super Nerds. Again, this time it's going to save you 10% off. And got about 9 laps to go. This pack on the top side still surprising me. I thought, halfway through this race, the inside was going to be the way to go. And you just can't touch the 31, 46, and the 50 right now. Those guys are so strong and so buttoned up. Even with the little movement right there. Just no car on the bottom, no matter who's leading it. Just can't get there to the top 3.
That high side just got the 31 has been strong all day. No matter who's behind him, he's definitely that car that wants to be leading the pack and needs a good pusher. And no matter if he's got the 46 or the 50, Simon or Martin there have been been great pushers. And Simon's been all over the back of Alex there. We've been seeing it. Kind of been scaring me a little bit there. I'm seeing as he jumps to the outside or the inside a little bit, coming across that nose. Because I saw that last night, so that's something I was just always scares me to see. But these guys are doing great, and they're keeping up the speed and pulling away from him at times. You see the 37 kind of jump out of line there, but he might be trying to pull off the engine a little bit before he tucks right back in, as you see him here on NERDtv, as there's still about 4 car lengths ahead of Chad Lane in that 4.
I don't know if you noticed, but I looked back, there was a temporary 3-wide situation, and guess who I see in the main pack? The 15 of Nicholas Moreau. Remember that car that was 5 seconds back? He's now in the main group here. I don't know how he gained 5 seconds with the 4 cars he was with, but he's here. So there's a chance there could be a little bit of a spoiler situation going on here.
I called that one short about 10 laps ago. I didn't think they had the move. They sat about 10 laps of 5 seconds back, and yeah, that whole pack caught up to him. It was being led by the 27. Jonathan was leading that pack there, and now you got all these cars back into it, and look who's kind of bunched up together here. Almost back to back. You got the 8 of Paul up on the high side and the 15 right below him. So if those two bunch up together, but it's tight racing right now, Jeremy. It's kind of where you're in that situation right now where you're going to find who you want to go with, and you're going to go there, and you might have someone that jumps in line with you that you're not expecting, and you change on a plan. But this is the time where you start picking who you're going with.
If you look, everyone's side by side until you get to where? The top 3. You saw the Ford temporarily get to the door. This 46 Hyman Magden saw a couple laps to go from his roof cam, but now he's kind of fallen right there around 4th place. Brian Dublé dips his nose down. Maybe he wants to take a part of this action and try to get to the race lead, but it's just so strong still from those 3 cars in the top pack. Maybe the 37 has something for him that we haven't seen yet.
37, that whole team, he's been pushing his teammate there, James Wallace in the 67, and have been putting up some good speed. But the whole crew of them has showed strong speed. You got Ryan, who's going to be Ryan and Josh are back in that pack with Brody there, so they're going to be too far out of this thing. But 37's been showing strong speed all day, and he's trying to get that inside lane to go with Chad Lane right behind him.
Chad Lane, excellent push right here, tangoing down the front stretch, even through the tri-oval section. A little bit of a risky move, but is able to make it kind of work. Even though the bumper's there, you still see the top 3 just edging the 37 as they cross the line that time with 5 laps to go here. Who has it? Who has the spoiler for this top lane? Or can, like, the 15, can he group up with his teammate maybe and make some moves? It's gridlock, Kenny. It's side by side. There's no passing unless you make it 3 wide at this point.
And another thing I think about, Jeremy, is out of all these drivers here, there's only a couple that are going to be in the playoffs that have a chance to win this thing and secure themselves into the next round. Into this main group, you got Brian Bliss and that 18, Brian Dublé, who we mentioned, that 37. and then Richie Coy. Those are going to be your drivers that's kind of in this main pack right here. James Wallace as well. He's a little bit further back, but just those 4 drivers are the only ones that can kind of win and get into the next round. Everyone else is battling for a win here in the C Championship. As we see him getting a little dicey here, Jeremy, going almost 3 wide for a second, 3 wide even behind him here as Brian Bliss is stuck on the outside.
It looks like Kyle Milliken got a little bit of bumper tag there, and the 44 Chris Beck sees a storm brewing. He backs out trying to keep his car safe. He is 1 lap down though, so if he sees that caution and he gets any type of 0x, he's not in contention for that lucky dog. So he does the wise thing, backs out for multiple different scenarios. But yeah, 3 wide, the 1997 and the 10 making a late race move here. He sees him get tagged by the 18 of the back bumper. 3 by 3 at 4 wide right now, going through the trial of a 14, 97, 10, and 18. But Talladega, you can get away with this and make it happen. And they're still doing it 4 wide as they kind of bottleneck into turn number 1. Still no harm, no foul. A lot of bump. Oh, there it goes. 14 to the 97, into the 10, the 32. 4 cars involved. Caution is out. Second time this evening, presented by Roasted Gems Coffee.
That we saw that brewing, and we were seeing if it was going to be able to hold. And once they got down to turn 1, it just got a little bit tighter on the track, and we saw what happened there. And that's going to bring us to a green-white checkered here.
Is it fitting that the storm was brewing and then the caution comes out presented by a coffee company? That wasn't planned at all. But no, heavy impact there by several guys. The 10 had made some great moves to get back up there. Just casual contact by somebody else takes him out. The 32 just was running his own lane, gets hit. But the 97 and the 8, I think initially you see him bump right there coming into the turn number 1. You're going to see on the NERDtv replay. There's the bump. It upsets the 8 enough. It shifts him and the 97 really both down. 14 did nothing wrong. He just got collected, and they wash up the track of this 28-degree banking surface. Sends him right up to the outside wall, and that does it for the second caution.
Who was right there, Jeremy? If we might be able to get an onboard with him, is Richie Coy, your playoff points leader right now. That was right in front of him. 1 car length difference, and that could have been Richie there that was up in the wall. So good break there for Richie, and that's going to put him kind of almost inside the top 10 on this restart as well. But now you're going to have his teammate Brody Hanna squeeze in. But yeah, we see right here on their TV.
Yep, there's the onboard shot you're looking for, and just, man, yep. You just by chance, by virtue of luck that something like that happens, you witness it. You're right. You can basically touch the car that's being wrecked right in front of you, and he comes out unscathed. That's going to help his chances for the overall 2022 championship. It's going to wind down a few more laps. It's going to bring this thing to a green-white checker, and the 19 so close to getting involved, but thankfully, at least in his department, did not get any damage from that.
Yeah, close call here. We're going to be, as mentioned earlier, we're going to have ourselves a green-white checkered. It's going to be here at Full Throttle Sim Racing. It is attempt 1 of 1. So if you've been following along with some of these other races, you'll know that once they do 1 green-white checker, that's it. They are done. So it's one of those things when if you're Alex Murphy or Martin Garreau, you're hammering down, you're trying to hold it. You're going to keep in your line. I would imagine Alex, as much as he enjoys that high side, once he jumps up in front of the 50, he might be choosing to stay on the bottom. So we'll see what happens. But it's a one-stop shot on this green-white checkered here.
Yeah, and we're going to go through a quick recap before we take this thing back to green flag for that green-white checker. This top 10 it's questionable at the moment, but the top 3 for certain. Alex Murphy in that 31, just such a bad fast car right now on the top side. He's got his partner in crime for at least Talladega in that 50 car. Martin Garreau is now P2 on that outside. What will happen with those guys? Who's going to lead the way right now? It looks like the 50's in the preferred lane. Will he stick to the top side and get someone to follow him, like the 91 of Justin Diltz, who's currently in 4th place, but he dips. No, he's just kind of keeping his tires in a different scenario here, but he's going to be in 4th place behind the 50 car. 37, Brian Dublé currently in 3rd. Sorry to skip there, but Brian Dublé, he's been showing some speed this back half of this race. Will he propel the 31 to that preferred top group for him? We'll find out. 5th place, Chad Lang in that 4 car has been pretty quiet the first half of this race as well. and he cycled through here and has shown to be a pretty good pusher. He just needs to have that little breakthrough run from Alex Murphy and Martin Garreau to try to get the job done.
You got Paul Bergoli. He's sitting in the back in there in 6th spot. Was sitting in the back part of this pack before the show came out, so this is exactly what he wanted. That's going to bunch him up into the top 3 rows here. You got Brian Bliss in that 7th spot right now. Got a chance to kind of win and get in with him, so he's going to go for it here. Kyle Milliken, your pole sitter, sitting in 8th place with James Wallace, who's got some speed, in 9th. And then round out your top 10 here before we go green flags, going to be Richie Coy, who, as we mentioned, is going to be he's your overall points leader right now. But Brody Hanna, Jeremy, is only 6 spots behind him now, so he's just going to be a couple spots starting behind him on this restart.
And we should be getting the 1 to go this time. The only green-white checker you mentioned last lap. What do you think this is going to look like? Do you think the 31 might jump to the top? Do you think he's going to try to secure what he has on the bottom? It's so tough to call right now because the 31 does not try to run the bottom hardly at all. So I really don't know how this is going to play out. What do you think is going to happen here?
So here's what I'm going to go with is this week, going through some hosted races, I saw Justin Diltz have a practice server up 3 to 4 times this week. Practice in Talladega, getting some runs down. So he's been putting in some track time, and he's sitting in that 4th spot on this restart in that outside lane. He's one I'm going to have my eye on. He's got Paul right behind him in that 8 car, who we know is bad fast. Give him a little bit of a push. So that's who I'm going with. I'm going to go Justin Diltz in that 91.
Second car on the top side, and that's your choice. But if he's done this scenario multiple times, maybe experience will pay off here. That's a pretty bold pick there. It's tough for me to stray away from that 31 right now, who's been leading a good chunk of this race, has control of the restart, knows where the lane is. I think my pick is going to be that P1 driver, Mr. Alex Murphy. Going through the chats here. It's been a little quiet tonight, but we see Cara Dublé coming through. Thank you for the airtime tonight. Let's go Dublé. So we got one fan out there for the 37 in the chat system who is starting right behind that 31. That's a pretty good person to pick, considering who's got to make a push to get to the lead. I have a pretty solid chance of even getting around him.
Yeah, he's got a fast car tonight in that 37, Brian does, so he's definitely not one to rule out at all. He definitely has the speed. One of his teammates in the 67 is going to be right behind him. So, but here we go, Jeremy. We're going to our own green-white checkered. These guys are bunching it up before we roll off, but this is it. This is the shot. Let's see who can bring it home.
Yep, 1 for 1 here. Will it be a caution to finish this? Will it go green the next 2 laps? We're about to find out here real quickly as the green flag is temporarily flown by the flagman, and he finally starts waving that thing. Green flag is out. The 31 with a decent start with the 37 all over his rear bumper there. 42 shoves the 8 to try to get behind the 91 to Diltz. Your pick. They're trying to go 3 wide temporarily. The 31 goes right to the middle groove where he found himself. Mr. Brian Dublé with Chad Lane's going to sneak through the bottom and temporarily take over the race lead.
Yeah, 31 stuck in the middle. He's going to stick with this drafting buddy all race long. The 50 of Martin Garreau as that inside lane is just building up some speed. You see Brandon Elder there cutting it close with the 57 of Joshua Johnson. These guys are 3-4 wide in the back here, Jeremy. Again, we're 4 wide heading in the turn 3. We got the 47 and the 15 almost touching doors. They do touch a little bit. They're still bouncing off of each other as they're heading off of 4 right now. It's going to keep it tight.
How did they not wreck? That is beyond me. And up to the top 5 and 10, they are still 3 by 3 by 3. Coming to the white flag here as they cross the line. Next flag is going to end this race. Oh, and there's the wreck. The 10, the 19, the 57, the 26. Big wreck behind them. Still no caution by iRacing. We're going green flag. The 37 Dublé was hoping for that caution, but he still has to fight him. We got a half a lap left in this race. 4:37. Who's going to win this thing?
Dublé is actually keeping on the inside, but he's going to have a teammate coming up right behind him, Jeremy. The 67 is going to be closing the gap. They got a great push on the outside here from the 18 of Brian Bliss. Now, is he going to stick with the 4? No, the 4 is going down below right in front of Brian Dublé, Jeremy, as they're going to come off with torn side by side. Ooh, they're touching, Jeremy. Oh, you got a great run by the 37 Brian Dublé. They're coming off of 4.
Oh, no.
Oh, they're all wrecking off of 4 right now, but look who's going to be pushing the way. The 37 and the 67 here. Teammates, we're still wrecking, Jeremy.
a Martin Sports winning moment. It's going to go to actually James Wallace with some epic side draft. He's going to take home the checker flag here tonight at Talladega. Did not see that one happening. There was so much chaos, so much wrecking that probably shouldn't have happened. And it works in the 67. James Wallace's favor. Just kind of breaks free, does it. So much luck had to happen. So many different scenarios. 6-7 to James Wallace brings home the dub tonight.
Puts him into the next round, Jeremy. I mean, he was pretty close, sitting in fourth place in the points coming into it, but now he's secured it. Brian Dublé was wanting that caution. He was yelling on the radio, give me that caution, give me that caution. They did not. What a battle, though. Those two teammates, they kept it clean, but what a great move there by James. And hey, look who came home in third. Paul brought it home. After all that, still came home in third place. So what a great run.
Yeah, Surfer Punkette can at least get to hear Paul in the post-race interview as he somehow snuck through all the wrecks and got home third place. And Cara Dublé, yes, you're correct. Gateau's Glassworks and the better half as well. Thanks for the correction. But your driver was one position shy in about, what was it, 35 1/100ths of a second between him and that 67 James Wallace, as you're going to see him burn it down here. And as he's doing his burnout, okay, I think it's time to go over the finishing order for tonight's crazy 94-lap finish here at Talladega Super Speedway. James Wallace, P1 tonight. Brian Dublé is going to come home at second place. Paul Bergoli, third. Jonathan Varanaskis in fourth. Ryan Hedrick in fifth. Nicholas Moreau going to bring home P6. Seventh place, 26th, Matthew Vachon. Eighth place, Simon Magden. Ninth place, Chris Curtis. And to round out tonight's top 10, Stan Carnathan.
11th is going to be Ryan Murray. 12th, Chad Wayne, who came across first on that last lap. 13th is going to be Jonathan Vachon. 14th is going to be Wayne Allen in the 14. 15th, Jeremy Brody Hanna was able to get by Richie Coy, who comes home in 16th. He's going to gain 1 point on him. Brian Bliss is going to come home in 17th. Josh Mayu in 18th. 19th is going to be Josh Johnson. And rounding out 20th, who's had a great night, is going to be Alex Murphy.
Such a shame to see that. 21st, Brandon Elder. 22nd, Martin Garreau. A lot of these names were just in the top 5 not too long ago. 23rd, Alan Crowell. 24th, Ryan Chapman. 25th, Justin Diltz. 26th, Kyle Milliken. 27th, Tony Solari. 28th, Chris Beck. 29th, Steve Loomis. 30th, David Courier. 31st, Sherwood Williford. And to round out tonight's 32-car field, that number 24 car, Stephen Lou Allen. Now we're going to cut it to a commercial break here, get our top 3 lined up, ready to go for the post-race interviews. We'll be back with you guys after a few short messages. All right, welcome back to full screen coverage here of the Full Throttle Sim Racing post-race interview show, now presented by Martin Sports. Over at martinsports906.com. We got our top 3 that we need to bring in here to talk to see what their take was of tonight's crazy finish this evening. Let's see if we get a hold of these drivers. Third place, Paul Bergoli. We're going to bring him in. Mr. Paul, you got a copy?
I do.
I thought this was the first time this season that we were not going to be able to talk to you, and then here you are, going through all the crazy chaos lap 94 had to bring to the table, and somehow made it to P3. How did you make it to third place after having such a dominant car, getting shuffled back late in the running, and then now you're here?
No idea. Luck. Pure luck is all that was. Yeah, I was hoping instead of green flag stops, we'd get a caution and kind of stick with the plan, but it didn't seem to work out too well. So I just kind of rode with it and hope for the best.
Now, you speaking of plan, did you and the 15 there, Nicholas, decide on this plan before the race started, or just happened to work out together with the two speed cars that you had kind of leading the way there most of this race?
No, being a single car team, I figured I'd reach out and see if we could hook up, and we did, and got the 97 too, but just green flag stops, I don't know if they slid through the box or what, but yeah, had to break up, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the super speedway gig, is you have to do that at some point in time. And whatever you did, you played your cards right. Not P1, you're showing some awesome speed, but at least you're able to bring home top 3. Kind of helps you out in that point situation between you and that 15 who finished in 6th. So before we let you go, anybody you'd love to give a shout out to?
Oh, well, I give it to my wife for not being in the chat tonight, but she was watching.
She was there.
The Moreau team for sticking with me, man. They were good sports. It sucks that we couldn't finish it together. And, the usual suspects, Team Watson Racing and Lifted Made, for keeping us going.
There you go, man. Congratulations once again on the third place finish. We're going to let you go and celebrate with the team.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one.
You too, man. It's going to be third place finisher, Mr. Paul Bergoli. And currently scanning through to see if the other top 2 have made it out of their cars, James Wallace and Brian Dublé. Currently not seeing them, so we'll have to stay tuned. Maybe we can get a... Actually, I think I got Brian Dublé ready for you now. So let me go ahead and try to bring him in. See if we talk to our second place finisher in that 37 machine. Mr. Brian Dublé, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, congratulations on P2. You had a really strong car in the back half of that race. Walk us through how you made it home P2 after all that chaos ensued on the last lap.
Well, for one, I had a really fast car. We had a really fast setup this week, and just had my teammate with me, and we just made a run for it. We didn't expect to be up that early, up that far that early. We didn't want to be up there that early. We wanted to wait till the end, but we just got up there and stayed up there pretty much the whole half end of the race, and I was just in the right spot.
Yeah, we were watching you early on in the race, and we've seen y'all play that strategy before. We wait in the back and then make your way up through the field, come late in the race, and it's paid off in the past, and certainly paid off tonight, and almost snuck it out, almost was able to race your way into the next round of the playoffs. But definitely good points that you secured today. That's gonna help kind of bump you up, try to get inside that top 8 there. Is a good points day, but almost brought it home. Great finish. Was that kind of the plan for you and James to work together to that last lap and make a run to see who gets the finish there?
Well, he was actually, he was committed to stay behind me the whole time, and then they started moving around and crashing, and it was just him and I, and whatever happened, happened. We were teammates, man. Whatever happened was going to happen.
Yeah, whenever you get down to the end of these races, it's, you take the gloves off, you do what you got to do to bring home the best finish possible, but team effort to make sure you're there anyways, which you guys did a great display of that for sure. Before we let you go, though, any sponsors you'd love to give a shout out to?
Well, I got to thank Cato's Glassworks. That's my wife, and Boomerang Motorsports, my team. And thank you guys for a good broadcast. And got to thank the league. It's one of the cleanest leagues I've been in.
Absolutely, for sure. And yeah, Kara was definitely rooting you on there for sure in the last half of that race in the chat system. So had a little cheerleader on your side, but go ahead and celebrate with the team, man, on a strong P2 finish tonight.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You got it. And that was your second place finisher, the number 37 car of Brian Dublé. Now it's time to bring in the guy who won the thing, Mr. James Wallace in the 67. Somehow, some way, I don't think it was in 10th place, coming to the white flags and bring it home. P1, Mr. James Wallace, you got a copy.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
It's going pretty good over here in this department. Crazy finish there. You had some steam a little bit, and then you fell back, and then you picked it up, and it was just kind of lingering there inside the top 5, top 10, minus the chaos. What was the difference for your car to get home first place?
Just managing the runs, I thought, more than anything. You get so much of a run with these cars now that if you try a little too early, then it's just sort of going to fizzle out. Someone's going to do it to you, the next set of turns. So it's sort of just managing that. I got lucky. I did. I got shuffled out and thrown back into like 18th or something there, and was able just to use some of the momentum and just. I don't know. Most times, I'm not the best super speedway racer. Most times, I just think it's all about patience and waiting for your time.
Well, patience and waiting for your time definitely paid off. I mean, you were up there part of the race too as well. You led 7 laps tonight, so you definitely had the speed to do it. And what were you thinking there coming that on that last lap there as you're like, I'm following my teammate, I'm committed, and then you just see everyone wrecking. You're like, you know what, I got a chance to win this thing. I'm going to jump up and try to take it and put yourself into the next round of the playoffs.
Yeah, that was basically it, to be honest. Like, I saw Dublé was up there leading, and he had the 4 behind him, and I knew the 4 was going to jump out at some point. And so I told him, I said, "Look, I'm behind you. He's gonna hang you out. Don't worry about it. I'm right there." And when he did it, I got such a run that I had to back off, and I didn't think we were going to be able to get the momentum again. But then once I saw everyone basically wreck it, looked like behind us. Since when I knew it was just us, then I didn't mind trying.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do, man. And once again, just congratulations overall on P1. Pretty well deserved considering how you ran all night long. But the floor is yours. Who'd love to give a shout out to before we let you go this evening?
Like always, man, y'all for putting this on and stuff, man. HB and Full Throttle for putting it on as well, and Josh and my whole team over at Boomerang. Just having fun this season.
All right, man. Yeah, appreciate everything. And once again, congratulations. Go ahead and celebrate with the team this evening.
Thanks, guys.
You got it. That was James Wallace, P1 here tonight, and the number 67 Grow Life Chevrolet Camaro gets the job done here in the final wild card race of the 2022 calendar year for these guys. Kenny, thoughts on this evening, man?
Good finish, good racing overall, hard to pass, but sets up some good excitement for next week at the Roval as well. You're going to have basically just one driver, James Wallace, who's locked himself into the next round. As we see right here on NERDtv too, Jeremy, replay here of the wreck we have. Looks like Justin Diltz kind of gave him a little push there, and after that, all chaos kind of broke out, and that was your first caution. I think we might have saw 2 more after all this, but this first one looks like it took about 5 drivers, unless we see any more come through here, but we see about 5 of them spinning right now. But there was definitely some more wrecks that were ensuing after this, but crazy last lap we just had.
Yeah, we had to keep the focus on the guys up front trying to get the checker flag. We could not bring any replay footage for you guys until after the interviews were done, and now you're seeing all the chaos that happened with the 91 and the 10 that started everything, and there was a couple more wrecks involved afterwards. Doesn't really sure what happened on the backstretch per se, and we saw the 4 of Chad Lang smack the 18's door panel, put him in the upper section of the fence, and turn 3 and 4, and you're seeing it right here, is he thought he was clear virtue of the spotter. Spotter lies sometimes on iRacing, and you see it right there, which is super unfortunate because I thought the 18 right there had it, and then everybody tried to split in the gap, and then it caused the 3rd wreck on this very same lap. Craziness. 4 wide for the race lead right there until contact with 1831, and they get sent to the wall. That's all she wrote until Brian Dublé thought, hey, I got this, and the 67 said, you know what, side draft is still a thing. I'm going to try to do this, and 35 100ths of a second is really not that much time. You see him coming across the trail
right there with Brandon Elder there coming back up. I think he might have clipped the 42 and sent them up to the outside wall.
He's trying to make a last move there, and all gloves are off at this point, so you're just trying to do anything you can, and unfortunately they got involved, and you're going to see it right here. coming to the line. How much of a difference? What a camera angle right at the start-finish line. Let's see what kind of slow motion we get. And boom, there's your difference. Half a car length separates first and second place. But before we let you guys go, we're going to plug some sponsors for you guys. Allow us to do this every Monday night here at Full Throttle Sim Racing. Martin Sports, top quality apparel, makes you look stylish and feel comfortable. See the whole apparel line at martinsports906.com, or the new website link is martinsports.gg. iRacing iFlag. Get notification fractions of a second faster without all your focus ever leaving the racing action. Visit iRacingIFlag.com for a full product line. Butt Kicker. Get that ultimate feel of a race car with haptic response from the Butt Kicker. Visit thebuttkicker.com to see a full lineup of haptic products for your rig. Moonlight Speed. Get quality professional built setups for all your asphalt oval needs. Visit moonlightspeed.com for pricing and packaging. And lastly, Roasted Gems. Premium coffee beans roasted just for you. Start your day the right way with coffee from Roasted Gems Coffee. Visit roastedgems.com to get a taste. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Of course, my name is Jay Stan, and Pushibi Nick has been calling all the action to my side here. I've been calling him Kenny. He goes by Pushib. They're on the virtual world, so you can look him up multiple ways. You'll find him. Appreciate you all that you've done so far this season and the seasons prior, man. We got the second half of the season coming up after this. You mentioned next week's going to be the Roval, one of my personal favorites, and I know you're excited for that one too. But until then, as always, guys, make sure you stay safe and get your nerd on.